What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. I often get in debates with people about various basketball topics, but one that seems to be a hot topic probably since Steph Curry won his 4th NBA championship is, who is the greatest point guard of all time? I raise my hand and I say that's Magic Johnson. Irvin Magic Johnson. A lot of people will also tell you, no, it's Steph Curry. And let me say this. I love Steph Curry. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I got nothing against Steph. He's phenomenal. He grew on me over the years because for a while there, I was starting to question if he would take that next step. But he did. And I'm proud of him. But one thing I always hear from Steph Curry fans, what they always tell me, when I say he ain't better than Magic, Magic's the greatest point guard of all time, the Steph Curry fans always come at me with the, he changed the game. He changed the game. Oh, he changed the game. He changed the game. Changed the game. Okay. Well, your guy changed the game. But I'm talking about the guy that saved the game. What game would Steph Curry have to change if Magic Johnson wasn't a very important part in saving it, so that it could even have life to be something that gets changed and altered sometime down in a future timeline? Steph Curry changed the game, right? He made three-point shooting popular, especially long-range three-point shooting popular. Shots that Steph Curry can hit with regularity at stupid distances, where for any other player in the NBA, that's a bad shot except for Steph Curry. And as a product of that, considering the winning the Golden State Warriors started doing as Steph Curry started to get the green light to continue to take these kind of shots, especially under Steve Kerr, other teams started to follow suit and felt like this was the only winning formula, right? Steph Curry definitely had a hand in that. The pull-up three-point shots that people would normally take in the mid-range, now they're taken at the three-point line, fadeaways, step backs. Now the spacing, the floor spacing, is as tremendous as it's ever been in the history of the league because of how Steph Curry had something to do with revolutionizing that. The frequency at which a player is taking three-point shots now, and as a collective effort, now a team. And now we have the league that we have today. Now, Steph Curry isn't the only reason. Slowly since the 2000s, the league started increasing in three-point shot attempts. Slowly. But it just skyrocketed, especially when Steph Curry burst on the scene and started stepping into his own and stepping into his prime a bit. Because I would like to say that certain coaches and their systems, like Rick Adelman and Mike D'Antoni, had something to do with that as well during that slow progression. But anyway, every time they say, he changed the game, I'm like, yeah, but is that a good thing? Is that necessarily a good thing? Just because he changed it doesn't mean he necessarily changed it for the better. And you can imagine all the pitchforks that came my way every time I said that. But now it's funny because now, all of a sudden, that narrative has changed, and now people are complaining about the three-point shooting league that we have today and how much the NBA has changed and the NBA product that we have now. It was all fine, but now it's turned into a whole nother beast and people are unhappy. Now, it's funny how people aren't out here saying he changed the game. Where's all that now? Now people aren't happy with the product. People aren't happy with the game. Well, don't try to remove Steph Curry from this now. He's still part of that. Now, to Steph Curry's credit, it's not his fault that it's a copycat league. It's not his fault that people that aren't nearly as good as a three-point shooter as Steph Curry are taking Steph Curry-esque threes. Like, Steph is one of the few guys that should ever be taking those shots. But it's a copycat league, and everybody's doing it. And they're not good at it. Steph is a human flamethrower from deep. Not many people can say that, but everybody's doing it. So I ask you again, did he change the game for the better? Let me tell you about how Magic Johnson saved the game for the better. And when I talk about this, you can imagine I'm going to be mentioning Larry Bird too, because Destiny Bond. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Destiny Bond. They both had a lot to do with it, equally. But we're talking about Magic Johnson. So you will hear me mention Larry at times with Magic Johnson. Just be prepared for that. But make no mistake about it, we are talking about the greatest point guard of all time, Magic. But I got to give props to Larry too when we talk about saving the NBA. So I want to make sure his name is mentioned at points. You feel me? The NBA was in a bad place, a very bad place prior to Magic Johnson and Bird showing up in the 1980s. The 70s wasn't necessarily a highlight of the history of the NBA, let's just say that. In fact, during that time, college basketball was far more popular than the NBA. Believe it or not, people. And also consider this, the merger didn't happen until 1976. So you had two different leagues going on, the ABA and the NBA, for a time there. There was also racial tensions at the time. The NBA was seen as a black league. Games were put on tape delay. And there was a severe lack of coverage due to its lack of popularity, you can imagine. I would say of all the teams in the league, and I don't know how many off the top of my head, I don't know, 20, 25, but only a handful of those teams were profitable at the time. Drugs, many people know, were a serious problem in the 1970s in the NBA during that time, especially cocaine abuse. I have read that there was somewhere between, 50 to 70% of the NBA players were doing some kind of drugs. Many players were seen as druggies and thugs. And the general public could not relate and find interest in the league. A league like that, the NBA was lost. The NBA was lost because interest in the league was lost. And it was plummeting. Plummeting, people. There was plenty of brawls, fighting going on during the time, which I guess played a part in the thug labeling of the players and the league. Don't get me wrong, you had some great stars during that time, even ones that came out of the ABA, such as Dr. J. By the way, shout out to Dr. Julius Erving, by the way, for being a huge reason why the league didn't go completely under prior to Bird and Magic showing up in the 1980s. He had the NBA on life support. Dr. J, extremely underrated and never given his props for what he means to the NBA and its history. Julius Erving kept that pulse pulsing. Dr. J could bring the crowd. Pistol P too, Kareem, Oscar Robertson. But some of these guys were not very well liked and extremely controversial. Namely, Kareem and Oscar Robertson, off the top of my head, I can tell you that. Magic and Bird were coming straight off the highest rated basketball game ever in 1979, being the NCAA championship game. And if I'm not mistaken, to this day, that record stands unblemished. Don't quote me on that. Somebody fact check me in the comment section. But fact check me, somebody. Magic, along with Bird, carried that momentum over into the NBA. Magic and Larry made it more entertaining than it's ever been. Magic would bedazzle the crowds with incredible, fast-paced basketball, flashy, a lot of never-before-seen passes, especially as somebody at his size. We've never really seen that before, especially with the consistency of Magic Johnson. But not only was it a complete show, and we all know about the Showtime Lakers era, but Magic Johnson was a winner. He did all that while winning, especially early as well. And with Larry Bird, dominated that whole era of basketball. And as far as winning championships, he's responsible for 5 of them in that first decade. It's Magic Johnson, a fierce competitor with a smile. He was the ultimate showman, extremely positive, big smile, embracing, loved to be embraced, loved to be seen, loved to be heard, very charismatic, great with the cameras in public. He was the poster child for the NBA and was everything the 1970s NBA wasn't. A good public figure for the NBA, and it was highly marketable. He wanted to be the face of that NBA. Larry didn't want that. Larry didn't like all the cameras. Larry was a bit more, much more of an introvert than Magic Johnson was. So Magic was happy to take more of that on by himself. Make no mistake about it, because I'm sure somebody's going to bring this up. One of you, Gen whatever. What do we call these people now? Gen Zers, Gen Xers? I don't know. Some millennials? I don't know. Make no mistake about it. Magic Johnson loved the woman. He might have even been what you call a nympho. But that's not drugs. That's not drug abuse and violence. Cut it out. The man loved a woman, the man loved a woman. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Magic Johnson was a huge part in making the NBA profitable and popular again. The first NBA Final Series where every game was actually broadcasted live was, go figure, Los Angeles Lakers versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Magic versus Dr. J. 1983. People don't talk about this. This was a huge moment. A huge moment for the NBA and its future. And the following year, the NBA had put out the most watched final series ever during that time in 1984. Of course, Lakers versus Celtics, Celtics versus Lakers, the first matchup, Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson in the NBA Finals, people. What are we talking about? Trendsetters. Trendsetters. Saviors. Come on, people. I'm not even going to bring up the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson contrast when it comes to race and style and character, because that did make it very interesting, but that was purely coincidental and actually remarkable how that turned out, them being polar opposites in almost every way imaginable, and also playing for two storied rival franchises in the Lakers and Boston Celtics at the same time. But that was like the stars aligning how that happened. It was purely coincidental, but yeah, you know, but I won't add that to my argument for that reason alone, right? But it does make the whole thing that much more interesting. You can't lie. I tell you, when these guys came into the league together, man, they didn't like each other. They hated each other, man. They did, man. They wanted to rip each other's hearts out. Larry Bird more so than Magic, because Larry suffered a loss at the hands of Magic Johnson in the NCAA championship game, right? ISU versus Michigan State. But the fact that rivalry was so rich going into the league had a lot to do with, you know, preventing the NBA from sinking under, and was really part of the, you know, I don't know, catalyst that helped push the league forward and grow. I was born in the 1980s. I didn't experience basketball live in the 1980s, but I've done my research. I've done a lot of research, spoke to a lot of people that lived in that time, and I can tell you that the 1980s was an amazing era and new chapter of the NBA, and set the table for all the future eras moving forward, and set the standard for all the future eras moving forward. And it's sad that now we have a product of the NBA that likes to shit on that era like it was something less than what you're seeing now, and not pay homage to the players of that era, call them firemen and plumbers and all this other nonsense, saying that they weren't skilled, saying that you could drop some bum today in the 1970s and 1980s and they dominate. Please stop. Please stop. Saying that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird wouldn't be as good in today's league as they were back in the 1980s. Please stop. Please. It's crazy to me that people say that. You got people like Ant Edwards saying players weren't skilled before Kobe Bryant came on the scene. Or Michael Jordan, whatever he said. That's crazy to me. That's nuts. Meanwhile, they're over here talking shit about players of past. And the players of the past, namely Larry Bird for one, continues to stick his neck out for these guys, support the league today, help promote the league today, and all they do is shit on him. And he's sticking his neck out for him. Trying to be an ambassador of the league still. It's crazy to me. That's getting off topic. But anyway, that's a video for another day. But yeah, folks, you could talk to me all day about he changed the game. And I'm looking at the NBA product as I've been looking at it. See, I've always had this opinion on the NBA over the last decade. That this league is unwatchable with all these damn three-point shots. Decade-ish. Right? That this has always been my perception. But now, finally, people are coming around to it. But anyway. Change the league or save the league. Like I said, there wouldn't be no league to change if it wasn't saved. That's all I'm saying, man. Magic Johnson, the greatest point guard of all time, came into the league winning. What Magic Johnson and Larry Bird did is extremely rare in the history of the NBA. To just pop up as a rookie, as a sophomore, and start winning NBA championships. Being that good off rip. You're lucky that Larry Bird had so many damn injuries and his back gave out on him. Because he probably would have had more championships. And you're lucky Magic Johnson didn't go through the whole multiple retirement thing. Because he probably would have had more championships too. But it is what it is. Destiny is destiny. History is history. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section, folks. Are you a Magic Johnson guy? Save the game, greatest point guard of all time. Or a Steph Curry guy? Change the game, greatest point guard of all time. Really, not really. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. Check out our Magic Johnson and our Steph Curry playlist. And I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.